Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of PMP's Den of Antiquities. Today we have another awesome entry in the Star Wars Perspective podcast. And if you guys are new here and don't know what that is, definitely go check out the other 28 of them I've done. Either 29. I think you're going to be 30. But yeah, if you guys don't know what it is, basically what I do is I bring people on from all across the Star Wars galaxy and have them tell their Star Wars story. And today we got Sarah telling hers. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Nice. Good. Like I say pretty much every time I start this podcast, I'm like, any day I get to nerd out and talk to Star Wars with some friends, like it's a good day. So, usually the first question I ask everybody who comes on is, what got you into Star Wars?
So for me, I guess it was when I was 6 years old and
started off young.
Yeah, really young. I was a youngling. But my family just pretty much had Star Wars playing on the TV like constantly. And this was at the time when Revenge of the Sith was coming out in theaters. Like it was being promoted, like, you know, like, see Revenge of the Sith in the theaters, like May 19th or 20th, whatever it was. And I was watching the movies in order with my family. So I knew going in like, oh, so this is how Anakin turned into Darth Vader and how Luke and Leia came to be. And the rest is pretty much history after that. I bought lightsabers and toys and the video games. I've been into it ever since.
Nice, nice. If you had to pick one thing that like what calls you to Star Wars, what's your favorite thing about it?
I think it's all of the lore, like all the extra lore we're getting. And the fact that I've always had questions with certain things. The big thing for me was the aftermath of Return of the Jedi. Like I always wanted to know what Luke's story was going to be after the war was over and how he continued the Jedi Order, and also some little things here and there with the Clone Wars, like the aftermath of Order 66. Like I always had questions like, were there any Jedi survivors? Were any, wiped out? Like they couldn't all be wiped out. Like some had to survive. And also the Old Republic helped a lot fill in some of the gaps for that too.
For sure. That's really cool. Yeah, dude, lore wise, man, there's just so many different areas. And that's what excites me about like going forward is like, there's so many avenues to go down, even now. So I'm excited to see what Disney has to offer.
Exactly.
Going forward. So I'm going to talk about like a little bit of like what you do in the community. I know you started your YouTube channel. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that's about?
Yeah. So I started, so I've been on YouTube for a long time now. I think it'll be 9 years this month.
Cool. Very cool.
So it's kind of something where I've hopped in and out of it. Like I started doing Star Wars content a little bit in the beginning, but it was all like low budget. Like I literally just had my phone recording on the computer. Like I would hold it and
nice.
See the reflection, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of bad. So I gotta
start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere. But I kind of stopped, and then last year I kind of started getting back into it because 3 years ago, I wrote Cal Kestis fan fiction stories. And for those of you who don't know what fan fiction is, it's basically a story written by a fan like me. You know, I'm not a professional writer or anything. Literally just came up with this off the top of my head. So it ended up becoming a trilogy, and I worked on the sequel book last year. And now I have been publishing those books on my channel for a couple months now. And the third book's in the writing phase right now.
So I haven't been able to like check them out like fully yet. Can you give me kind of like a either like a hook or like a synopsis of like what, like, does this take place like during Jedi Survivor? Does it take place after that game? Like where does it go like in the timeline?
Yeah, of course. I have to be a little careful where I talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything.
Right, for sure. Just light beats, you don't have to hit any heavy hitter things.
Now I know how Cameron Monaghan feels.
It's like Poncho.
shows. Yeah, so the first book takes place 2 years after Fallen Order.
Okay, cool.
So Cal is trying to figure out how he's going to rebuild the Jedi Order, and he asks Seer's advice how to do it, and the Mantis crew ends up on Coruscant in the beginning, and they get thrusted into this big adventure once again, but Cal is alone on Coruscant because he wants to see the galaxy a little bit, but also if he can find some Force sensitives, and he ends up running into some people who also get involved in his world, and they all go on this crazy journey together. And that's all I'll give for now. There is more detailed synopsis on my channel. I have a book trailer, and I have a couple posts on my community posts. And now for the sequel book, that lines up with Jedi Survivor. And I didn't write this in the time when the book was, or when the game was coming out, I should say. And I wrote this last year of June of 2022, and this was literally right when the very first teaser trailer had just dropped. So we didn't know much about the story to begin with. So I just came up with stuff the best I could right off the top of my head. And I did so much research. I went on Wikipedia. I made my own creatures. Like, I went full, like, crazy creative mode.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Thanks.
Well, that's awesome. So you already had written it, you said, like the second, because you said trilogy, right? So you haven't written the third one yet. You're just working on the second one still.
Yes.
So you wrote it before, right? So nothing could change, right, from what you had previously written.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
that's cool though that you like made it your own though. Like that's gonna be something cool. I definitely have to go check those out because you're. I think I just saw it. I had it up here a second ago. You're on like chapter 11. It says.
Yes.
Right now. So that's cool, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah, these are all written up, and I narrate the story. So when you click
on
them,
that's cool.
You hear me narrating it, and you hear the dialogue of the characters. I even fixed the subtitles, so if there are fans who want to read along, they're more than welcome to do that as well.
Oh, sick. Very cool. You want to shout I'll have all the links down below, but do you want to shout your channel out now while we're talking about it?
Yeah, of course. It's Sarah_2244. Pretty simple. I have a couple of other stuff besides my Cal Kestis books, and I have a tribute video to Cal Kestis. I have a video where I talk about my favorite Star Wars films, and a theory video, I think. It was on Jedi Survivor. This was before the game was coming out. So a couple stuff there. More stuff to come very soon as well.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So, I mean, we've been talking about Cal and the journey he's been on without deep diving into Survivor too much, because I haven't beat it. And I know there's a lot of people out there who haven't still are playing through it. First, why not just give me like your first impression on what you think of like the game overall?
Oh my gosh. The first thing that came out of my mouth when the credits rolled up, the end credits, was wow. And it was a good wow, not a bad wow. It was basically everything you love about Fallen Order, but literally like on steroids, because everything is so expansive. The combat has improved so much. The graphics were amazing. The gameplay was just top notch. I loved the story probably a lot more than I did with Fallen Order, which to me was a shock because I loved Fallen Order's story so much, and I loved the journey that Cal and the Mantis crew went on, that I didn't know how they were going to possibly like top it with the sequel. So the stakes were definitely high.
Heck yeah. They man, I was surprised because usually like the second games, like sometimes the second games are good. Definitely a lot of the older games and stuff like that. But lately I've just been feeling like games haven't been hitting, like with the second one, just haven't been hitting that same like level of quality. I don't know, maybe it's just me being a game designer or something like that for the past couple of years. But I completely agree with you, man. I feel like this one is basically just everything you loved, like you said, everything you loved about the first game, and just like they hit the steroids button with it. It's like you can like the climbing so much more functional. The customization, like don't even get started on that. Like the amount of colors you can pick, you can literally customize everything down to like his facial hair, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Like I didn't think they were going to get so crazy with the customization options, and literally just change his hair and his beard and even BD1 and a blaster. Like they really knocked it out of the park.
What would you say your favorite out of all the stances? What stance do you find yourself using the most?
So I've played with all of the stances, but my go-to is the dual wield sabers and
nice,
single blade with the blaster.
That's a classic one for sure.
I love blasting droids off a cliff. It's the most satisfying thing ever.
Yeah, that's me, but with the just like I don't know why I like picking them up with the force and then like inching as close as I can and then just dropping them, because they'll say some funny stuff like the stormtroopers will be like, "This is your last breath" or whatever, and I'll drop them and I'll be like, "Are you sure about that, dude?"
I know, or like they'll just be like, "Oh, like this view is actually nice. You know, I better appreciate the little things," and we just push them off a cliff.
Yeah. It's so he's like, I remember one was like, I think it was a jetpack trooper or something like that. He was like complaining about his like career choice. He was like, "Man," he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Scout troopers seemed a little sketchy." He was like, "Regular like grunt troopers just get like shot at the most." He's like, "Maybe I should have been like a snow trooper or something," like, you know. So it was funny them kind of have those little moments where they're just like literally essentially staring out into nothing, like you were saying, like they're like sitting on the edge or like zoning out in Jeddah or something, just like looking at the desert. And it's so great. How do you, because you have beaten it, without giving away anything, how did you like how they wrapped it up, and do you think there's going to be another game?
I absolutely 100% believe there is going to be a third game. It took me a while to like kind of have the story and everything just sink in, because it's so emotional and it's really heavy and it hits you hard. Like it doesn't take much to make me cry. So I was an absolute wreck by the end of it. Like even my family looked at me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I'm having a moment. Like
I need a day. Just
like, give me a day and then talk to me tomorrow and I'll be okay.
That's how it was at the end of Clone Wars, man. Season 7, I was just like, I just need a day to recover, you know?
In my case, it was like, I need a week. Jedi Survivor and Clone Wars. I'm like, I need like a couple weeks to recover from this, because oh my gosh, they definitely left it off, and I love that it left me knowing that Cal has evolved so much compared to the first story. He's more mature. We really see him go from, you know, a young boy into a grown man. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to, that growing up is hard. And
yeah, it's tough.
It's being an adult is not easy.
And then you throw like your whole, I mean, you can say whatever you want. Yeah, I consider Jedis being like a cult, like your whole cult, like essentially being like exterminated and you're being hunted. Throw that on top of growing up, and I can imagine it's rough.
Yeah, that definitely would weigh heavy on someone, and I can't even imagine for Cal. Like, poor guy. I joke the whole time that this is Cal's version, that adulting and growing up sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I like I replayed the first game like right before the second game came out. Mm-hmm. And I think one of my favorite lines in Jedi Fallen Order is when he's on the track, he's like going through the scrapper or whatever, and he slides down like the conveyor belt or whatever, and the droid's like, "You are not authorized trash or garbage, like you need to get out of here." He's like, "I'm garbage." He's like, "I'm just not authorized garbage." And then I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Cal," I was like, you get it. You get it, bro. You get it."
I'm like, yeah, we feel you, bro. Cause that's literally what we all tell ourselves every day.
But, you know, I grew up with like, and maybe you did too, I don't know, but, playing The Force Unleashed, like with Starkiller, like super overpowered, like kind of same time period going up against the Empire and stuff like that. And I really like the stark contrast kind of between the two, because I feel like Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order gives us some more like realistic way, like that how you like fight and traverse the Empire, whereas like Jedi Force Unleashed is just like your powers are cranked up to like 11 and you're just slicing and dicing and which, don't get me wrong, I love too. Like Force Unleashed is one of my favorite games, but I really like how this shows us a more kind of like realistic fight against the Empire, which is cool. You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I haven't played both of the Force Unleashed games, but I know all the story and all the lore behind it, and Starkiller, like I know everyone wants him back, and me being a fan of that franchise too, I would love to see him return. And
yeah, that'd be cool.
It would be the dopest thing ever. And yeah, I remember people comparing that to Fallen Order and saying like, guys, we haven't had like a good single player Star Wars game since the Force Unleashed.
Oh,
and that was,
it's been forever, dude. Yeah, it's been forever.
Like 20 something years ago. So I think it's a shock to everyone that Fallen Order has kind of surpassed those expectations. And you know, like I think even fans for me, like I knew it was going to be good. I was just hoping it was going to get a sequel. And now that we've gotten the sequel, I'm like, I hope we see Cal in the future, like and other stuff. Like I hope we see him in a TV show or like a movie or like just a little cameo, because I'm a pretty big fan of Cameron Monaghan. I knew him. It's funny. I knew him when he was in like Disney movies. Like,
right. Yeah. Back in the day.
Super famous and everything. Like I know he was in Gotham. I didn't watch that, but
yeah, I didn't watch it either. But he played the Joker, right?
Yeah, he was the Joker.
Yeah. You mentioned Cal possibly showing up in a movie or TV show. This is kind of a two-part question. Do you think he survives past the OT trilogy? And what show or movie would you like to see him inserted into? Like, where do you think his like intro into television or movies would best be?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would like to say yes, that he survives. I'm not sure where in the timeline specifically he would fit, because he's 23 years old in Survivor. So we got to jump another couple years into the OT trilogy. And so that would make him 40, 50. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, right. Because he's like, I mean, he's still a Padawan during Order 66. So probably puts him like roughly around like maybe like 12 to 15, something like that. Would you say?
Yeah, he was 13 when Order 66 happened.
Okay.
18 in Fallen Order, or like 5 years later, and then now in Survivor, he's 23 years old. So, because by the time A New Hope happens, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke is like 20 or 19, right, when A New Hope starts? Yeah, I believe he's 19 years old.
So yeah, okay, so he'd be up there. He'd be like in his like 30s or 40s for sure.
Yeah, like 30s and 40s. So I would like to see him probably fit somewhere either between A New Hope and Empire, or like after Return of the Jedi, like somewhere where he kind of is free to come out now that the war in the Empire is over. You know, like,
yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe he can meet up with Luke at some point and be like, hey, like I have some Padawans here, or can you teach me some stuff, you know?
Yeah, like join forces, because we know Luke is building a temple right now, so he could be helping Luke, you know, build the new Jedi temple or something.
Yeah, that would be like the best crossover of like my life, because those are my two favorite, like top favorite Jedi of all time. So to see them together would be like an absolute fan dream come true.
I think they would be buddies, honestly. Like if they met, because I feel like Cal has a little bit more like Han Solo-ness to him.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas like Luke does, but I feel like Luke's a little bit more, especially like as he gets older, is a little bit more by the books. It kind of feels like he's kind of but he's also open, you know, so it's kind of, I feel like they would get along well.
Absolutely.
What did you think about Mando? Did you end up finishing it?
Yeah, I finished the whole season, and I was a little disappointed by it because I felt some things were kind of rushed, and the ending was a little anticlimactic. Like it was like I wanted more. Like it felt like the quickest boss fight ever.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nothing worse than playing a game and you're like, oh, that sucked. And then to see it on TV, it's kind of like even worse because you're like, you're expecting more from it.
Well, it sucks too because they had cool beats in it too, like them crashing that like Star Destroyer or Venator. I can't remember what ship. I'm awful with ships, like in the names. But it's not a Venator because I know it's an Imperial class freighter, but it's whatever it is. That crashing it, like the dog fighting and stuff like that. I agree with you. I felt like it was very like spaghetti Western, like mustache twirling, like, oh no, you got me, like backs up and like crashes into. I think he's a clone though. I think that Gideon was a clone.
I've seen him say that.
He's too cool to just go out that way. I mean, Gideon's like, he's not, I don't think he's on the level of Thrawn, but I think he'd be like right under it,
Oh, absolutely. I know it didn't make sense to bring him back and then just kill him off. I'm like, what was the point of that, basically? Like, it made no sense, but I've seen fans throw that theory out that, oh, it was a clone. I'm like, oh, well, that makes more sense. Like, we didn't see all the bacta tanks, like, completely full. We just saw half of them.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, that would be, because I know Jon Favreau said that he was thinking about doing, like, 4 or 5 seasons or something like that, maybe even 6 of Mando. What I think could be cool is like Gideon found like that was a clone of Gideon, and then like say he was telling a truth about like the force sensitivity and stuff like that. I would like that. I think that would be cool if that's why Gideon's actually somewhere far off into the galaxy, like recovering from whatever they gave the clones to be force sensitive. I think that would be super cool if like maybe he was force sensitive, but like the catch is like it doesn't work all the time, or like it doesn't work in the way that the actual force works, because we know that it's like super hard to like give somebody the force. Like as far as we know in the sequel trilogy, Palpatine was the only one in the history of ever to be able to come back and use the force, as a clone. But
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't know what book or comic or something where it was, but Palpatine was doing that. He called it was like a force transfusion, where he would take Jedi or someone who was force sensitive, like their blood, and try to transfer it into someone to see if they could use the force abilities and everything. And Palpatine was using that experiment for a long time.
Well, I know in the Plagueis books, Plagueis is doing that a lot. He has like an underground like layer underneath his thing. And then I know that Dooku, and I can't remember in what book it was. I think it was one of the Dooku books, but Dooku and Palpatine tried to take Sifo Dyas's blood and inject it into Grievous to make Grievous force. It didn't work, but they try to make him force sensitive as well.
Oh, so that's how Grievous got it. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, because the Grievous thing's like totally messed up, man. They're like, hey, you want to be like the general in our war, like crash his plane, like make him all disfigured and all that stuff. Like, dude, they messed Grievous up hardcore.
Oh my gosh, how brutal.
Yeah, it was not fun. But what did you? I know you said you hadn't got all the way through Visions, but so far from what you've seen, what have you thought so far?
It was good. It wasn't my favorite, and I guess it's the same answer as I had for season 1. I tried to go in as open-minded as I could. The thing is, for me, like, this is coming from a girl who already is into anime, got into it recently, like, so I guess my brain was kind of like comparing it like to traditional anime styles.
Right.
Everyone else was trying to do. I get it was different art styles, and you can't do that. But the way it was projected to the audience, it didn't really hit it for me. Like, there were some good episodes, and there were some where I was like, okay, I could have skipped that one. But
yeah.
I mean, it was okay for me personally, but I didn't hate it.
I feel that. I feel that. So for me, for the second, I feel that way for the first season has a lot of really good ones, like the black and white one with the Ronin, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
Like super sick, super sick. But I agree. Some of the stories, which I guess it is kind of tough. Like most of those are anywhere between like 12 to 20 minutes, right? It's kind of, sometimes it's hard to fit a story in within that time frame. But yeah, no, I get it. I can give or take a lot of these episodes. Some of them I'm just like, like the art style is cool. Don't get me like, that's the thing. I think that's the thing that I could try to take away from Visions, is that like, even if I don't like it, all the art styles are pretty sick, you know, like they're trying something new. But no, I think I'm on the same boat as you with Visions. It was just like, granted, I haven't seen them all. I think I'm on episode like 5, but I was just like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not like anything groundbreaking, like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've seen on earth. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's okay. Like, nice.
So you're gonna be I'm switching up the podcast just a smidgen. Usually I talk about like movies and like rankings and all that stuff. I'm actually gonna skip that this time around, and I want to extend Mynock Minutes, because Mynock Minutes is basically just me asking you a whole bunch of like questions, like not super quick, like you can take as much time as you need to answer them, but like kind of like, hey, what's your favorite this? What would you rather this in Star Wars? You know, stuff like that. So we're gonna extend that one a little bit longer, and go with that if you're ready to start.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
All right. So if you were in the Star Wars universe, you could be a moisture farmer, you can run the Pyloon Saloon, you can be a Jedi Sith, you can be a pod racer, you know, whatever you want to be. Who would you choose to be in the Star Wars universe?
I would definitely be a Jedi Knight.
Nice.
Because, I mean, it's every kid's dream to swing a lightsaber around and use the Force. Like, come on. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. So that leads me to my next question. I'll even throw Sith in there too, but I'm sure you're probably gonna pick Jedi. If you had to pick a Jedi Master or a Sith Lord to train you, which Jedi or Sith from the Star Wars universe would you want to be your master?
Oh, gotta choose wisely here.
I know there's so many good choices. So
it's just there's so many. Like, oh my gosh. I would probably, right off the bat, I would probably go with Obi-Wan.
Ooh, solid pick.
Because he's been through so much too. I would definitely go with Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's very wise. And even though he's been through a lot himself, I feel like he would properly train me how to handle my emotions and use the Force wisely and just be a great Jedi Knight. I feel like I could learn a lot from him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could go wrong with Obi-Wan. I mean, a lot of people would argue like Anakin, but I think Anakin was destined to do everything that I don't think really had to do. I mean, maybe Obi-Wan a little bit, but like Anakin was going to be Anakin regardless of what Obi-Wan did. So, but yeah, no, you definitely, it's amazing to me too that Obi-Wan, like he goes through all of this, like he goes through so much loss and heartache and still, like, I would argue is one of the ideal perfect Jedi, you know?
Exactly.
So there's something to say about that, because he lost Qui-Gon, he lost Satine, he lost Anakin. I mean, you can even argue that he lost like Padme and stuff like that because they were friends as well. You know, he lost, and then the whole council and Jedi and all that stuff. So
yeah, he lost his whole family as well. So to be able to suppress that loss and everything for so long, but to be able not to fall to the dark side is really tough. You know, being a Jedi is not easy. Like, I already know I'd break the code within I'm always like, okay, young Obi-Wan, young Anakin, Cal Kestis, like, yeah, I'd fall in love with one of them, break the code. There's no way. Like,
not a chance.
Not a chance.
So you're on your way to becoming a Jedi Knight, and you're building your very first lightsaber. What style hilt do you have, whether that be a single blade, double, saber staff, whatever you want to, and then what color/colors would you want depending on what lightsaber you pick?
Ooh, so my hilt, again, it's going to be so cliche.
Hey, this is your Star Wars story. You get to pick whatever you want to. Nobody can say anything about it.
But probably the single blade stance, because the double blade, I don't think I could do that. That's just, there's probably so much weight to that. And I don't think I'd probably go like just fall back. But probably single blade, and the hilt would probably just be all traditional Jedi parts. It would probably look similar to Cal Kestis, because that's my favorite hilt.
Yeah, that one's pretty sick. Pretty sick.
And the color is cyan.
Ooh, nice.
That is, I don't know what it is about that color, but it's just my favorite out of everything.
Classic, man. It's classic.
It's just, it's a nice, it's not like a baby blue. It's a light,
lighter shade. Yeah.
Like a lighter shade of blue. And I feel like that's just the coolest, like, lightsaber color for me, at least.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I wish they would have done. I wish there was different shade. That's like my one gripe with Star Wars is like, they all got to be the exact same, like, shade of blue. I get it. That's kind of annoying to have to go through and like render different saber color or different hues and stuff like that. But I'm like, maybe just do it a little bit, like for the main characters or so. Like the background characters can all have the same green or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like it'd be cool. Like I know that, and also yellow. Like we haven't gotten a yellow saber yet. Rey got one, and like the last like 0.2 seconds of the movie.
I know. It's like,
in the original video games, Plo Koon was supposed to have a yellow one, but I guess they changed that or something like that. Yeah, the video games did a lot of stuff. Like there used to be like the crystals like meant different stuff. Like green was like you're more powerful like in fighting. Like blue was like more powerful in the Force and stuff like that. Now it's just like red bad, green blue good, purple good, or purple like in between.
Yeah.
But the bleeding the crystal thing, a lot of people like, I guess that's like more common now, but that wasn't a thing back in the day. Like that was like a recent thing, I think, with the Vader comics or something like that, where he like bled the crystal. But I think that is like super cool. Like you like pour all your hatred and anger into like the crystal, and it turns like. I'm excited to see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Yeah, I literally just learned about the bleeding of the crystal like recently, like because I remember when I was playing Jedi Survivor and the scene where Cal meets Dagon for the first time, and he does it. Yeah. My brother was like, "How did he do that?" And I was like, "He bled his crystal." And I was like trying to like inform my brother and focus on getting ready for
like, this is important. Stop asking me questions.
I'm like, I'm literally learning everything right now. Like, just stop. And then he's like asking me all this stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, he can bleed the crystals. He's a Sith now." Like, okay, and he's like. But he just kept asking me questions, and I'm like, I'm tuning you out, bro. Like, I'm like,
bro, come on,
fight. Like, stop.
Yeah, I was surprised at how quick he bled it, but maybe he just has like a lot of hatred and like, I don't know much about the character yet because I'm still like, learning because I'm playing the game. But yeah, I was like, man, he bled that crystal fast. He was like turned like red instantly. I was like, ooh, he's got some hatred in him.
He's an intense villain. I will say that.
I'm interested to learn more about him because like I know a little bit, but I haven't gotten super far into it. But we get I forgot to bring up Ahsoka. We got the orange sabers in Ahsoka, like because Dave Filoni said that they were orange instead of red. So
yeah, that was a surprise to me. I'm like, oh, we're going orange now instead of the traditional red. So it'll be interesting, like, how they play that out. Like, I don't even know if the crystals will have meaning or anything. I don't know.
I kind of hope they do, but even if not, I'm just glad we're getting other colors. I feel like it's predominantly like blue and green and red. I'm like, kind of want like, it doesn't have to be like rainbow or anything like that, but I like some variety, man. Ahsoka's cool because she has white now, but
that's such a sick saber. I love Ahsoka. She's definitely like number 5 on my list of favorite Star Wars characters of all time. So I'm really excited for that show.
Oh yeah. I mean, also too like Dave Filoni. I feel like every time I listen to him talk, I'm just like, he's just like one of us, man. He's just like just as big as nerd as like, and then you don't get for some people when they go up and talk on stage about Star Wars, all right, you like Star Wars, but like, do you like love Star Wars? And you kind of get that from Dave that he's one of us, man.
Yeah, he's a giant nerd. Just doing what he loves, and living our dream.
Oh yeah. So if you were being hunted by a Sith master and you could pick 3 characters from the Star Wars universe to help fight this master that was hunting you down, who would you pick?
Oh gosh.
It doesn't have to be any particular, just big bad Sith guys like hunting you down. You gotta pick 3 people to protect you.
Oh gosh. So 3 people to protect me?
Yeah, or fight alongside you. You can be fighting the Sith just as easy. Not that you need protecting or anything. It's just
oh gosh. So Sith who would be hunting me down would definitely be, for 3, it would definitely be the Grand Inquisitor.
Ooh, nice.
Because I'm like, he's the main head of all the Inquisitors, so of course he would want to get me. The second one would probably be Trilla from Fallen Order.
Okay.
Because my gosh, that woman gave me such a hard time in the game. Like,
she's tough, man.
Took me forever to beat her. So yeah, she'd probably give me a run for my money in real life. And the third one, I would like to say probably Palpatine.
Ooh, solid.
If the other ones go down, Palpatine's the only one who could possibly be the end for me. But for protectors, I don't need protect. No, I'm just kidding. I need probably Obi-Wan, Cal, and Ahsoka.
All solid, yeah. All super solid. Well, Cal, I feel like Cal now, because I'm like, he can like literally switch up so many different stances and stuff like that now. Yeah. Like, it's like, I don't know how many, like, I guess they're all canon, right? Like, he can just use all of them. Like, is it just like you can use all of them for the game, but he still uses like single blade, like canonically?
Yeah. So I guess canon-wise, it would be just the single blade stance, but unless he upgrades in like the 3rd game or something where maybe he uses the blaster or a double blade or the dual wield, maybe that'll be canon as well. But for canon wise, I think it's just single. But either way, I know I would feel safe with him.
Nice. If you had to pick your favorite Star Wars droid, who's your favorite Star Wars droid?
BD1.
Yeah, I figured. I figured.
Not even a thought. I'm like, BD1, hands down. He is the cutest droid alive. I literally need every single merch.
And he can heal you, so you can just hurt yourself and just be like, hey, I need a stim.
We need stim, like, just real quick. I'm like, oh, I gotta cut stim. Oh, I'm feeling sick, stim.
Paper cut, stim. He's like, do you really need a paper? He's like, beep, boop, beep. He's like, you need a paper?
Yeah, and he's so adorable. He literally reminds me of like a dog. Like,
yeah.
Man's best friend, the little head tilts he does, and like he wiggles his body and everything. Like, he's so cute. And
oh yeah. Well, I'm surprised, like, did he have a jetpack or a little booster in the first game? I don't remember.
No, he didn't. So I think that was something that was new in the second one, because that's why when he fell, I was like, oh God. But then he had the boosts and I was like, oh, that's new. Like,
I don't know why it's so cool when droids do, like when R2-D2 did that for the first time, when he has those little like propeller things that he sticks out, like jet propellers. I'm like, dude, that's so cool.
Oh, it was awesome.
I remember loving that in the, it comes in clutch in the Lego Star Wars game, because you can go like further, you know, on like different platforms and stuff. But if you had to bring one force power into real life and only you could have it, what force power would you want?
Oh gosh. I would like to say, like, yeah, obviously it would be like the ability to lift stuff, but I feel like that's like so cliche. Like, I would like something. It's
classic, man. You're like, oh man, I just want a drink from the fridge. Just open the fridge.
Like, oh, I need a snack. Just pull that over here. Either that or Cal's Force Echo, where he has
yeah, that'd be cool.
to touch objects and see the events that happened. Because I always like want to learn new things, so it'd be cool. Like, oh, I want to learn a song on the piano. Like, let me just touch that reference and see where it is, and then just start learning or doing it. Because I think in the first one, he had a guitar at some point. I think it was Sears' guitar, and he started playing it, and Sears like, oh, like I wrote that song years ago. And he's like, yeah, it's Force in the Echo. Like, like just all casual. Like, yeah, it's just an ability I have.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. There's a meme somewhere in this, but like somebody needs to make a meme about Cal going to like a Goodwill or something like that, and just like touching everything at Goodwill and seeing like all the reenactments of like what people have done with their toys and books and clothes and stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty funny.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
So we're going to get you a Star Wars family. So you get a mom, a dad, a best friend, and an arch enemy. And like the mom and dad don't have to be like in love or anything like in the Star Wars universe. You can just be whatever mom and dad you want. But let's start with the mom and dad.
Okay. So the mom would probably be Padme.
Solid.
Because
she got good mom energy.
Oh yeah, she's got the best mom energy, and I feel like she really knows how to fight. So if I really needed to defend
badass
myself,
mom, yeah.
know how to do it, how to teach me. And for a dad, probably, oh my gosh, that's hard. Probably Obi-Wan.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, I feel like the master and like apprentice thing is kind of like a father, daughter, or father, son, or mother, daughter, all that stuff relationship. So,
oh yeah,
everyone would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Obi-Wan. Like, he just seems like the perfect like father figure to have as well because of everything he's been through.
Oh, for sure. Got that experience. And then you get a best friend and then an arch enemy.
Best friend, probably Marin.
Ooh,
because
like she'd be an OG friend.
She's like a forever friend for life. She's just, I love her powers. I love her story. She's just so cool. I feel like we would just get along very well because half the lines she says in Jedi Survivor are so sassy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, bro, that's me in a nutshell. Like, I feel like I'll be like, my friends will have a sassy comeback, and I'm like, you really want to go there? Like, I have something that's gonna top that. So,
nice, solid.
So Marin, hands down. And now arch nemesis. Oh gosh. Oh. That's a stumper, but probably Trilla again.
Nice, yeah, very solid.
Because I just feel like she would be the one again who would.
She seems like she would be like, if you sassed her, she would sass you right back, sort of like Spunk, So I feel like,
oh yeah,
y'all would butt heads. If you're sassy, she's sassy. It's the sass is too strong between you guys. If you had to pick a favorite musical score from Star Wars, what would be your favorite musical score?
Oof, I love and hate this question because
there's so many. Like all of them.
Like everything. John Williams, my God, he's a god.
I think that's the one thing, like people might argue about like which trilogy is better, like whether you're an OT fan, prequels or sequels. I think one thing we can all agree on is that John Williams' music across all of the movies are amazing.
Oh, hands down. Like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the sequels, I still love Rey's theme. Like,
oh, dude, I mean, he didn't have to go that hard on it. I remember the first time watching it where she's sliding down the sand embankment or whatever, and it just goes dun 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 dun, and then it got the little flute solo in there. I'm like, bro, I was like, he's copping off. I was like, let this man cook, bro. Let this man
absolutely. Cook. Like, oh my gosh, my favorite probably score of all time is Across the Stars.
Oh, classic.
It's such a powerful love theme. Like, I always joke to my family, I'm like, I don't know who is going to be my future husband one day, but whether he's into Star Wars or not, I am playing this at my wedding, even though it was Pringles. Like,
no, that's what I do something similar where I'm like, I don't care how much money I have or whatever. I'm getting married where Anakin and Padme, because I looked at the venue and you can rent out that venue where they got married.
I am going to do that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care how. I want to believe it's in Spain where it is. I could be wrong. Could be Italy, but
yeah, it's Italy. I know for a fact it's Italy.
It's Italy, yeah. You can rent out that little spot. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it. But I was like, it's either there or it's nowhere. That's the only wedding prerequisite I have. Everything else, the bride to be can pick. It's my only trump card.
Same.
But this one's a two-parter. What is your favorite Star Wars planet? And if you had to live on a Star Wars planet, what Star Wars planet would you want to live on?
Oh, my favorite of all time. Like, I used to toss back and forth between Coruscant and Naboo, but my favorite of all time is hands down Naboo, because it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Those waterfalls, man.
I know. And the scenery, it's just, it's beautiful. It just seems so peaceful and serene, like calm, like less chaotic. Like I'm not about that city life. I'm about just calmness at all time, like just meditating and going.
But that's what blows my mind is that Sidious is from that. Palpatine's from Naboo. And I'm just like one of the most evil, like hatred people in the galaxy grew up on one of the most peaceful and chill planets of all time. Like, just mind blown.
It's really mind blowing when you think about it. Like, you would think he would live in Coruscant, where, you know, all the politicians are at, and it's like a fast paced city. Like, no, he lives in like one of the most peaceful planets in the galaxy.
Oh yeah. And then so you want to live there? Was that for live, or was that for your favorite planet?
For both. I would live there, and it's my favorite planet.
Oh, all right. So the final Mynock Minute question that I'm going to ask you is, if you could have one Star Wars creature, and if they're regular size, you could have them regular size, or if they're life size, they'd be like this. Like, sure, for instance, if you picked a Rancor, it would be like the size of like a dog or something like that. It wouldn't be like a huge thing. What Star Wars creature would you want?
I would want the Boglings from
Interesting. Okay.
Fallen Order, because they are the cutest things ever. I don't know what it is about them, but I think it's the fact that I've pet like 50 of them.
Oh yeah.
And Survivor, I love that. I love the idea that you can just pet all the creatures. And
dude, that was one of my not biggest gripes, but that was one of my gripes about the first game is that they like when you're on what's that first? Is Zepho? Is that the first planet you go to?
No, Bogano. It's Bogano.
Bogano, yeah. Like I'm like they always run away from me. I'm like, I want to pet one, bro. Let me pet one.
I'm like, come to me. I want to pet you. You're so adorable.
Yeah, they kind of look like almost like a mix between a Lothcat and I'm blanking on the name of that Pokemon.
Eevee.
Yeah. Kind of looks like a hybrid between those two creatures.
Yeah.
So to close out the podcast, usually what I like to do is if Lucasfilm called you up, I was like, Sarah, we need an idea for a TV show, movie, video game, really any source of entertainment media, books, whatever you want to do, but we need you to head the project. What project would you pitch them?
Cal Kestis TV show.
Let's go. Okay.
And I need Cal Kestis content. I know that's all I've been talking about. But
no, I mean, like I said, this is your podcast, and honestly, I haven't gotten a lot of Cal Kestis talk, so that's why I like doing these, is because everybody has their own fixations in Star Wars, and yours is a lot of like Fallen Order, like or centered around that, which is sick. So,
I want it so bad. Like, I have never been, the fact that I've been so invested enough to write my own stories and promote that. Like, if Lucasfilm was like, yeah, we need you to pitch an idea, I'd be like, call up Cameron Monaghan, get the rest of the cast. We are doing this thing right now. Like, we are filming it. I don't care how many seasons, how many years it's going to take. I would do a Cal Kestis show in a heartbeat. Now, in timeline wise, I'm not sure how I would fit that just yet, because I have to see how the rest of his story plays out
Right.
In the third game. So I can't speak too much on that end, but that's absolutely what I would do in a heartbeat.
Interesting. So if you had to for instance, like, oh, well, I guess you can't really do that right now because I haven't beat the game. Because I was going to say like they didn't have plans to do anything else after 2. Like, where would you take the story from there? But like, you kind of need to know the ending and what happens. So we're not going to do that. But one thing, because I know you did play the video games, and it was a question that I had meant to ask you. What, for the Mynock Minute portion, what are your top 3 favorite Star Wars video games? I have an inkling of what you're going to say, but I was curious to see what you say with it.
So Revenge of the Sith, the classic Xbox game, is one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time. Literally played that to death every year. My other favorite one, let's see, probably the traditional Lego games.
Ooh, yeah, clutch.
Like, I haven't played the new one. I think it's the Skywalker saga now.
Not to badmouth it, because I do love it, but it's not as good as the original, like the complete saga. In my opinion, I like the complete saga better, but it's still good. It's still fun.
Yeah, I love the original so much. So, and I played that so much with my brother growing up. And third one, obviously, Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. Well, now it's Survivor. Survivor surpassed.
You can call them. You can just like that saga. You could just say it like that, or trilogy, not saga. But
yeah, the Fallen. I wish it was a saga.
Yeah. Who knows? We don't know yet. Yeah.
Who knows? Never know.
It made them bank, so they could be making quite a bit more, you know.
I really hope so, because I love Cal's story so much, and I think it's the fact that he's literally like the same age as me that makes him so relatable. I'm a year older. I'm 24, but still the same age range. So yeah, I really want to see more from him and the rest of the crew, and just where they could really take that story. It's awesome. I haven't been into Star Wars like this in such a long time. Like after
that's awesome.
Like after the sequels came out, I was like, I don't know, Star Wars. I wasn't like those fans where I'm like, Star Wars is dead, but yeah, I was just like, I hope there's something that could bring me back into it. And
for sure, I mean, you don't like, even if like, because I'm in the same boat as you. I wasn't a huge fan of the sequels. I like if people are, because then they talk about. I kind of get to see like the flip side of the coin, you know, so to speak. Because like I'm with you. Like they weren't my cup of tea. You know, like I didn't like them, but I'm excited to see what because there's so much in the universe. You know, they're bringing so many different stories. You know, we're gonna get Ahsoka and like the Heir to the Empire stuff. We're going back to like the Dawn of the Jedi with the movie or whatever. The basically before the Old Republic. It's even like before that. Like that's cool. We got what is the not the Inquisitor, the Acolyte. That's going to be cool with the kind of like the High Republic, a little bit after the Old Republic. That seems pretty cool from what I can gather. But I'm excited for Star Wars, man. I think there's like I agree with you. I think there's a lot that they're going to do. You know, not everything with Disney is going to be a banger, and that's okay. You know, that's kind of something I've come to terms with, but I'm excited to see what the future holds, because I think there's a lot, you know.
No, absolutely. I agree. Like when all of the shows were starting to come out, it was like a hit or miss. Some were great, some weren't so great. My favorite Star Wars show so far is Andor.
Ooh, yeah, Andor was good.
I loved it. I love because I was like, this is the content I'm searching for. No pun intended. But I've been looking for mature stories for such a long time. Like I get it, Star Wars was made for kids originally, but I'm like, okay, well, some of those kids have grown up now. Like,
give something for them. Yeah.
Like it'd be nice to get some nitty gritty dark stuff. Like that's why stories like Andor, Rogue One, and hopefully Acolyte and Ahsoka, and now Survivor, it's finally starting to seem more like Star Wars. Like it's not just all kiddish. Like no, there's some serious dark periods in the timeline that were not something to joke about. Yeah,
well, it's like that's the thing is, it's like, you know, some people like that. People give that argument that Star Wars is for kids, right? But I think you can still make Star Wars gritty and still give people hope. Like there can still be grittiness And then in the end result, there's because that's kind of what I think. I know George Lucas said Star Wars is for kids, but really, like, Star Wars is about hope and like creating hope and like never giving that up. And I still think you can stay in that realm of being gritty and have darker stories, because I am 100% agree with you. I want darker and gritty stories as well. And that's why I'm looking forward to season 2 of Andor, because I thought personally for me, and I loved Andor season 1, but it was slow. Like, it was basically it was a build up, right? It's like, you know, showing him how he joins the rebellion and all that stuff. Like, next season's going to be like, he's in the rebellion now. Like, he's starting to do some like heavy, you know, he talks about doing heavy stuff in Rogue One. Like, we're going to see like Yavin and all that stuff, and them basically building up to stealing the Death Star plan. So I'm excited to see what they, I want to see more spy stuff. I like this, you know, this is the first time we've gotten a like quote unquote like spy thriller and Star Wars. So I'm excited to see kind of where they take that, you know, and go from there.
I'm so excited for that. And I'm hoping with the Ahsoka show that the heir to the Empire trilogy is somewhat coming to canon, because I read those books a few years ago and I absolutely love them. I was like, bruh, this is what the sequel trilogy should have been. Why didn't they take this route? And
I think that's where we're going. I think it would be a serious mistake if I think they are, because like they're bringing in like Thrawn and all that stuff. You know, we're gonna get Ezra and bringing in some of the Rebel stuff now too. But I completely agree with you, because those books are great, and it's just such a shame that we didn't get any of that. You know, it's kind of all. But the thing is like, luckily the sequel started out far enough to where there's like a 30-year gap in between like the sequels and like the OT trilogy. So I think they gave enough room to play, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like, it is such a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Like,
we've never had more content than now. Like, you know, people crap on Disney and say all this stuff, but the one thing that they're giving us is there's no shortage of content. Because I remember the wait between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens. Yeah. And that wasn't nearly as long as the OT trilogy to the prequels. Like, obviously I wasn't born then, so I didn't have to wait that. But, but now it's like, oh man, I'm not complaining. I'm like, oh man, now I have to wait till August. I'm like, wait, August is like right around, like, I'm going to blink and it's going to be August. Like, what? I have no reason to like even be remotely sad about it, because some people had to wait, you know, it's like years, like countless years for it. So I can't even imagine the OT trilogy. Like, you know, they get Revenge of the Sith, or not Return of the Jedi in 83, and then they don't get Phantom Menace till 99.
Oh my gosh, I know. Like, when you just comprehend that, like, the year gaps between that, like, it was a phenomenon. And I mean, it still is a phenomenon. Like, my brother, he saw Phantom Menace when it came out. And
no way. Cool.
He was 9 years old. He tells me the story every time. And because I always ask him about it. And he said, to this day, it was one of the craziest phenomenon experiences of his life. He said there were people having lightsaber fights in the theater. And like, when the credits came up, everyone was so excited, and this one guy came up from the theater and shouted, "We're seeing Star Wars!" And everyone just started screaming out of their lungs. Like, the hype was just so real.
I miss those days, because I was too young for Phantom Menace. I think I was like, I want to say I was like 5 when the Phantom Menace came out, like 4 or 5. So I was still kind of like not conscious yet. I was like just a little baby, but it was like that for Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones. I can tell you, I remember that exact thing. People cosplaying, people going to see, you know, I'm in like 3rd or 4th grade going to see Attack of the Clones, and it was exactly like that. And I got that a little bit for Force Awakens. When I saw Force Awakens, I got a little bit of that vibe, but people don't do that as much as they used to, and it's kind of sad. Granted, we haven't gotten a Star Wars movie in like I kind of block out the sequel trilogy, but like it came out like. So I think The Rise of Skywalker came out in 2018, 19, something like that.
I remember I was in high school, so it was 2015.
15. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but yeah, I agree. The hype wasn't as big as it was for the original, or not the original, the prequels.
Yeah.
And I wasn't old enough for the first 2 movies, but Revenge of the Sith I remember vividly, because I went to the theaters to actually see it, and I felt the hype in that room, and everyone reading the title cards, you know, and going a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and just feeling the hype in the room.
Well, just seeing them on there's something about seeing Star Wars. Like, I can watch Star Wars all day long, but like, what really made me realize this was I got to see Return of the Jedi. They just got done showing that, I think, like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I really hope they release everything else, because you know, that was a pretty big bucket list thing for me. And I still need to see Empire, A New Hope, and Phantom Menace in theaters, and then I will have seen everything. But I'm like, I really hope, because I think Return of the Jedi made them quite a bit of money to release. So I'm hoping they kind of like, they're like, oh, this is like a nice little influx. Let's do it some more, you know? So hopefully they release the other ones, because I think it would be cool for people who, you know, because a lot of people don't remember the prequel hate. You know, a lot of people, like, they either weren't born. I feel like there's like this new generation, you know, of Star Wars fans that don't, like, they just didn't live through that. So they didn't know. I mean, you probably saw some of it, you know, seeing Revenge of the Sith and stuff like that. I'm sure, you know, being in school, you get those, you know, kids arguing about, like, you know, whether they were good or bad, or, you know.
Oh yeah, all the time. And I would love to experience all of those films in the theaters. I mean, I've only seen Revenge of the Sith. It's a shame. I wanted to see Return of the Jedi when it was coming out, but two things. I was dealing with finals, so I was stressed with finals, and then Survivor was coming out. I'm like, nope, sorry. As much as
it's so much. Yeah,
it's like, I can't. It's too much.
Well, also they only showed it in like I think there was only one theater here, like in Austin, that was showing. We had to drive like 30 minutes away from where I live to like even go like watch, which 30 minutes isn't that big of a deal, but like just to go see a movie, driving, you know, half an hour is interesting. But hopefully they do it more, man. I'm hoping that they do it more. But thank you again for coming on and talking Star Wars with me. We made it to about an hour, which is, you know, it's awesome. Let the good people know where they can find you at.
Yeah, so again, my YouTube channel is Sarah_2244. My Pinterest account is Rachel_22. My Twitter is Sarah_R_2244. And my Instagram is SarahGurley2. And Girly is spelled differently. It's GIRLIE. So that's where
awesome.
You can find it.
Yeah, I'll have all those links down below for you guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.